Hello, Lisa here. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to my weekly deck review. So in this weekly series, I like to share with you the decks that I've been working with in the past week. So I typically work with one tarot deck and one oracle deck. This past week, I have been working with the Tarot Muha by Lo Scarabeo and the Inner Compass Oracle by Heather Hope's Art. This is an independent and this is a mass market deck. So I have worked with these two side by side for all of my weekly stuff, my daily draws, my challenge posts on Instagram, all that kind of fun stuff. I have been carting around both of these decks outside of their boxes this week because I wanted to cart them around easier. So I snagged this Peggy bag from Peggy, and then I snagged this little mini guy that would hold my Inner Compass Oracle cards, and I would just keep them all together in one bag. And it was actually pretty great because then I only had to carry around this one. So it fits the little bag inside the big bag, and then my Lo Scarabeo deck was in there, and it was great. Actually, it was really convenient. But now that I'm getting ready to put them away, I realized I did it bad. Because this bag is the perfect size for the Inner Compass Oracle cards, which I'll tell you more about in a second. I'm being a little bit squirrely. But it doesn't fit the Inner Compass Oracle cards inside of their nifty box, and I want to keep them in their box. So now I have to find a small, so this is a mini Peggy bag, this is a standard Peggy bag, and I need the one in between to hold this guy. And I only just realized that as I was setting up this video, so I felt like I really needed to talk about it and like share my feelings with you all. I'm such a dork. I'm so sorry. Good luck putting up with me through the rest of this video because we're only 2 minutes in and I've just squirreled on you a bunch. Let's talk about the actual decks. Okay, sounds good. So the Tarot Muha does come in this really great little two-piece box. This lid part is really loose, but since I typically keep my decks inside of a bag which then hangs on my wall, that's not too big of a deal. But that would irritate me, I think, that if I was just putting this on a shelf. So just full disclosure, it could just be this particular copy. I did get this deck in a trade, and the cards themselves, so it comes with like a little white book, Lo Scarabeo style. This is actually a little bit meatier than a lot of like pamphlet-sized little white books, but you do have multiple languages. So the English language portion of the book actually goes through page 71, including some spreads. So you get the seasons spread, which is a 4 seasons based spread, so it gives you a little sample reading. And then you also have a flower series, which gives you a 4 flower based spread, which is kind of cool. And then you also get a 4-act reading. So there's actually quite a few little spreads here in the back, all things considered. And then you're into the other languages. Now, 71 pages out of a 128 page book is not bad, actually. So it must be a little bit more succinct in the other languages. And then you also have this little key on the back. So if you haven't seen Lo Scarabeo's newer decks, instead of having all the big borders with the multiple languages, what they do is they have a symbol. So in this case, you have like a crown. So that's this one, and that's the king. And then you have at the bottom, you would have your suit symbol, so pentacles. So this would be the King of Pentacles. Sorry for the glare. And that way they don't have to put words on their borders, because Lo Scarabeo borders used to be really cluttered up, and some of the decks they still sell still are, but their newer ones, they've been doing much larger artwork with much smaller borders, and that's how they get around the language thing, is they use a pictorial key for the court cards. And then for the majors, they just use Roman numerals. Let's find one for you. They use just Roman numeral top and the bottom, like that. So they don't have to put the star, because you can see that it's the star, and you've got the Roman numeral for the star. So I really like that they've done that, because it makes the decks, their decks, much more appealing. Because for a long time, I wouldn't buy any Lo Scarabeo decks because the borders were ginormous. So this is what the backings of the Tarot Muha look like. This is an Art Nouveau style, if I'm not mistaken. But again, I haven't mentioned it yet. I did try to film this before, and I did mention it in that one. Not that that helps you. But I am not an art buff. I love looking at art. I know very little about it. So feel free to educate me and other people watching this video down below if you know that I am wrong or if you know more about this particular art style. Now, I don't know a lot about the artist that inspired this. Muha is the last name of an actual artist, but I have heard from other people that this is not his original art. This is art inspired by him. So, and I forget his first name. It probably says in the guidebook. Yeah, the artwork, yeah, Alphonse Muha. So the artwork in this deck is actually by Julia F. Masaglia, and the colors are by Barbara Nocenzo. So that information is right here in the guidebook, and it is inspired by Alphonse Muha, which I actually really enjoyed this art style. These cards are really pretty. And one of the reasons that I got interested in this deck initially is because I had heard from multiple readers that this is wonderful for romance readings. I have found that that's true. It has this very soft, classical, romantic feel to it. It's very feminine. It's very gentle feeling. But it also takes some really interesting takes on the cards, or has some interesting takes on the cards. For example, in this Ten of Pentacles, typically we see a family with like an elder, like people of parenting age, some children, a couple of dogs. In this case, we have all those same symbols present, but I get the feeling like these are people of wealth who are addressing the common people, almost as if they're doing something with that wealth. They're perhaps, I just get this leadership vibe from this card in a way that I haven't gotten it from other decks. So I thought that was really cool. And there's similarly, there's other art. I can't talk today. Similarly, some of these other cards also offer a little bit of a different perspective. I'm not the hugest fan of the borders. They are lovely and they add to the artwork. It's not that. It's just that I'm spoiled and I prefer a little bit less borders. This Lovers card is kind of hot, I have to say. There's like passion in this card. I really like that. Actually, a lot of times our Lovers cards are a little bit neutral, and I kind of liked that that one had some passion in it. This Hanged Man I drew multiple times. I drew the Moon multiple times this week. I love that Ace of Cups. Now this deck, I think I might have mentioned it already, but just in case, this deck came to me edged, so it's actually already edged in like a matching linen color that matches the backs, which I love. I probably would have done the same thing, but it was already done for me, which was fantastic. So yeah, this was really great to work with. It did not blow me away. It isn't a deck that I feel like I'd be like, yes, I get to work with the Tarot Muha this week. But it was a really good, solid, enjoyable deck to work with. I don't really have any specific complaints. If anything, the only thing that really I would say got under my skin a little bit was the borders, which again, they're beautiful borders. If I'm going to have borders, please let them be decorative and enhance the artwork like these ones do. But it does hem in the artwork a little bit. One of my favorite Nine of Cups, that one's really, really pretty. I just love it. And I love feminine Nine of Cups. It's just a thing I have because it's one of my favorite cards. So I want to see a girl in there because I want to put me in there. You know what I mean? I'm just kind of flipping through seeing if anything else really stands out. I like that we get some feminine cards where we normally would have masculine cards. But I don't feel like there's a lack of men in the deck either. And I feel like there's just a lot of personality. So it's one that I feel like I really enjoyed working with. I am going to be passing this one along to a friend of mine who I think will really enjoy working with it. And I have quite a large collection, but I have no complaints. No complaints. It's not one that I'd be like, oh, this is going to be a dust collector and I just really, really have to get rid of it. It's just one that I'm not as excited about as maybe some other things in my collection. I hope that makes sense. It's like a good deck, but it's less exciting to me. Okay. And I'm having a bit of trouble in general, I think, finding decks that have an artistic feel to, how do I say this properly? That have a classical art feel or a historical art feel that really resonate with me. There's a few I've seen that I really, really am kind of lusting after, like the Tarot of Delphi, of course, which is super hard to get and is out of print currently. That one I feel like is the one that has been speaking to me the most, and yet because I can't get it, I think I keep looking for other decks that are going to give me that same feel. This deck I was hoping would sort of be like my go-to romantic deck, and I could see it being one of the decks I reach for, but right now my go-to is shockingly the Bonefire Tarot. And not a lot of people talk about that one for romance readings. It doesn't have that soft feel, but there's so much fire and passion and emotion in that deck that is my go-to when I'm doing relationship readings for clients. So this one didn't unseat it, and so it's not really quite the one. I have seen a very cheeky little deck that has been around for quite some time called the Casanova Tarot. That one's kind of intriguing me a little bit, but I believe it also has gigantic borders, and I think the art on that one is a little bit washed out, so I'm still on the hunt for that like really romantic deck that just feels like it's perfect for love readings. This one is good. It's just not great for me for that purpose yet. Not yet. I think it's a good, solid one though. I think I said good a lot, which I think kind of sums it up. It's a good deck. It just didn't hit me as one of my favorite decks. However, let's talk about the Oracle deck. So the Inner Compass Oracle, this was a totally impulsive purchase for me. These are the backs, by the way. So this was a deck that Etsy recommended to me because I was on Etsy and it was like one, you know, they have that section based on other things you've bought and they're like, we think you might like this. That's how I found out about this deck, which is interesting because I feel like I've heard about a lot of the indie oracles and I often will go to Etsy and like look and see what's out there. But this one, there's something about this really textured, almost three-dimensional feeling layered collage art that was just totally talking to me. And the typed up words, there's lots and lots of color. I feel like each piece of artwork that make up this deck, each one feels cohesive, and I can see the message of the card in, you know, I see they've got the title or the keyword rather, and I can see that in the artwork, which is something I really appreciate. Like I definitely see new beginnings with Robin's Eggs. I definitely see magic here with our butterfly and all the little sparkly light bits. So I feel like Messenger, I feel like it's been really, really well done. And there's no disjointed feeling. There's nothing that sort of pulls me away from what it's trying to tell me. And I found that I got really interestingly synchronistic card pulls when I pulled this next to the Tarot Muha. They're not specifically decks that I would typically pair. I would probably work with this deck currently beside my Textured Tarot, which is another collage deck that has a lot of textured, obviously textured style of artwork to it. I think this would look gorgeous next to that deck. But these were both decks I hadn't worked with for a full solid week for myself and my personal readings yet, so I wanted to work with them both. And this was a pleasure to work with, and I really love the cardstock. It's like thick. You can kind of see how thick they're stiff, but they're still pliable, whereas like with my Textured Tarot, it feels quite thick, but they're not pliable. They crease, like they can fold on themselves really easily. This doesn't feel like it's going to do that. They're lovely and matte, and I just really, really enjoyed this little guy. And this is definitely one that I will reach for again and again and again if I just want something that's going to be great for like a quick oracle read. There are, how many cards? Oh, I always keep forgetting, and she told me before. 49, I believe. The artist commented on my last video or on my video that I walked through the whole deck, so I'll link that in the cards. Look at me, being all memory. I can't even put words together right now. But I will link that in the cards because I go through every single one of these in that linky that I'll put up in the corner, up there. So I will do that. But I believe there's 49. I think that's what the artist commented on that video with. Yes, I can remember. And I also really have to say that I love this little slide-up box. That's just the little art card that comes with it, or title card. This box just is so cute, and it's been decorated with stickers. I added this one, but it came with this little gold star, this little sticker on the back, the artist sticker on the back of the cover, and then that sticker on the front. And it's just super cute. I love it. So now I have to figure out a new Peggy bag situation for this because this little mini, it doesn't fit the little box. Peggy's gonna murder me, you guys. Not for real, but I just picked this out this week, but I forgot. I forgot there was a box. Anyways, so I'm gonna be sending this off to my friend, and the other one I'm going to be keeping in my collection, and I'm really, really excited to tell you what I'm working with next week. But first, this is the reading cloth I used because I thought it would go real good with the artwork, and I have to say all week long I was like, no, it blends in too much with the Tarot Muha, so I used the back all week, which is black velvet. You never know. Sometimes I think a particular reading cloth is going to look perfect under my cards, and this one I love the like all this writing and stuff. But no, I just wanted the black velvet all week. Excuse me, I just had a hiccup right on camera. Have a sip of water. That is my bedside water. Next week, rein it in, Lisa. We can do this. We can get through this video. Next week, I am going to be working with, starting right now, my Game of Thrones tarot. So first of all, can we talk about the Peggy bag I have for this deck? So, as it turns out, there's the Iron Throne. A long time ago, we're talking like probably 4 or 5 months ago, we were at the fabric store and we spotted sometimes there's these like small little pieces of fabric that are like ends of bolts or whatever, but like just like little bits, like for quilting and stuff. We spotted a small piece of this fabric and I was like, can you make me a bag for my Game of Thrones tarot, please? And then it sat and sat and sat until finally I was like, please? And she pulled the fabric out. Unfortunately, the dimensions were really, really tight, so she wasn't even sure she was going to get a good bag out of it. So she worked the fabric and did her Peggy magic stuff and managed to scrape out one bag plus a backup. She was a little concerned that it wouldn't work out, that the seams wouldn't be in the right places and that something would not fit, that it would be too small or whatever. But that worked out for totally the best because I got a bag, and the other one, even though the seams are like really tight on the inside, like they're really small, she managed to do it. So I was able to give my sister one of these as well for her Game of Thrones tarot deck, which is awesome. So now we have sort of matchy Game of Thrones tarot deck decks, which is kind of awesome. So this deck, for starters, of course, thematically appropriate because Game of Thrones season finale, well, at the time you're watching this, it's happening tonight. At the time you're watching this, I'm filming this on Friday night, and I am so excited to be working with this once everything kind of wraps up and we sort of know how everything concluded. I cannot wait. I will say that this was the first deck. Let's talk about the cardstock for a second. This was the deck that sort of gave me that first experience of linen cardstock. So there's the back. And linen has this, let's see if I can get the light to catch it, this textured feeling to it. So it's got almost like, it sounds like a zipper almost. Like, and when you shuffle it, like it's like playing cardstock, but like a really nice playing cardstock. So when you shuffle it, you get this kind of whistly sound. It's amazing. But also it's a dream to shuffle. It's really bendy, but it feels super sturdy and like high quality. It's so, so good. And I recently heard that the new ones that people have been picking up have had a crummy cardstock, which is really interesting and kind of sad because this is the one. This was the deck that I was like, oh, that's what everybody's talking about when they're talking about linen cardstock. I'll show you cards while I babble. But after this deck, that was why I started obsessing about the Pagan Otherworlds, because the Pagan Otherworlds, at least the version, some of the original versions, had linen cardstock. And I was like, yes, I need more of this because this is probably my favorite deck to shuffle. This, and now that I own Pagan Otherworlds. I have to say that originally I was a little bit disappointed by the comic booky style of the artwork, but it really has grown on me over time. So I'm super excited again to be working with this. And I also purchased this deck thinking this was going to be a novelty deck, and I will tell you, based on the last time I worked with it, it reads like a dream. And again, partly just like I've talked about with the Alice Tarot, I'll link that weekly deck review up in the cards. When you know a story, then you have so much more you can draw on when you're reading with cards. So like, I know Tyrion Lannister, right? Like, so when I see him as the Fool, I can pull my knowledge of the Fool card, but I can also pull what I know of him and loop that in. Just like with the Alice Tarot, you can pull in what you know from the stories, from the scenes depicted, and you can, there's more for your intuition to grab onto when things jump out at you or when you're getting those intuitive hits. So I'm really excited to be working with this. I will let you guys know how it performs, but I'm probably going to love it because I've loved it before. So spoiler alert, probably going to like it. Still watch next week though, because you never know. Also, I might be mad at Game of Thrones depending on what happens on the finale. The little guidebook that comes with this, at least on my version, is hardback, and it's really, really nice. The only complaint I have about this is that the text is super teeny tiny, but there are some great spreads in here. I haven't used them all, and it has been a while since I've played with this deck. So one of the things I plan to do this week is play with all of the spreads, so I'll let you know what I think of those at the end of the week. The other thing is that when you get into the minors and you want to know, so the majors do a pretty good job with amount of text. You get all of this and all of this, which considering the font size is actually quite a bit. And then when you get into the minors, if you want to know, so here's kind of what the minors look like. They have little teeny tiny thumbnails and then itty bitty text, like we're talking really, really small, that describes the scene that you're seeing. So thankfully that information is there, because some of these were immediately recognizable to me, and some of them, like this one, I might not have spotted what this was initially. So having it, this is actually Tyrion and Missandei and Grey Worm together, but I might not have grabbed that information just on the image. And now that I know that from the book, that's what I think of every time I see this. Oh, Missandei. All right, moving right along. That is the tarot deck that I'm going to be working with this week, and I am so excited. Really excited. Really, really excited. Also, the oracle deck that I'm going to be working with is new to my collection, so some of you probably saw me show this off briefly in my mini haul and Enchanted Crystal of the Month unboxing, which I will link up there. My memory just worked a little bit and it was great. So these are a deck, not a big one either, a deck of 36 cards. Oh my gosh, this guidebook. I'm so excited to dig into these. These are brand new to my collection. They look like they're going to be amazing for shadow work. Now I am filming this on Friday night, and as soon as I am done filming this, I'm going to use this deck for the 3-card shadow work spread that I gave as our challenge for last week's Self-Worth Saturday. So not the one that just happened yesterday, but the week before. Because I'm filming this on Friday, Self-Worth Saturday's tomorrow. It's a weird timeline thing that happens when you film videos. But I really want to use this deck specifically for that purpose. So I'm going to do that and do a little bit of journaling about it. And I will let you guys know next week, A, how it did for that, if I don't mention it in the live chat in yesterday's Self-Worth Saturday. I feel like we're time traveling right now. Because I'm talking about yesterday, but also tomorrow, because it's Friday, but you're watching this on Sunday. I hope you're still with me, because I am in fine form this evening. Anyway, those are what I'm going to be working with next week. And the reading cloth that I picked is this oldie but goodie. This is actually fabric that is Gustav Klimt artwork on fabric. So I just really loved this like gold theme to go with the Game of Thrones tarot, and I think it'll also work really, really well with the Heal Yourself reading cards. Yes, I think I picked wisely. We will see if you see this behind my photos on Instagram this week, or if I default back to black velvet. But that's why I like these reversible reading cloths, because you have choices, and choices are good. So I've been talking to you for 23 minutes. I think I'm going to let you get on with the rest of your day. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I will let you know how all of these things work out next week. If you have any questions about either the Tarot Muha or the Inner Compass Oracle, or if you have questions about what I'm working with this week, the Heal Yourself reading cards or the Game of Thrones tarot, hit me up in the comments down below. If you have comments or experiences with any of these 4 decks, let me know down below. I'm always curious to hear how things are working out for you guys and getting other perspectives on the things that I have been working with or am working with. So I would love to hear from you. With that, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, click the little bell, do all the fun things so that you can hang out with me again and enjoy more of this squirrely goodness. And with that, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you again later. Have a great day. Bye, you guys.